You are an adult. You are rational. You pay bills, you make decisions, you handle things that would terrify a child. And yet, late at night when the lights are off and the house is silent and you have to walk down a dark hallway alone, something happens. Your chest tightens just a little. Your steps quicken. Some quiet, animal part of you is suddenly absolutely certain that something is there, in the dark, behind you, and you walk a little faster. You would never admit it to anyone. You are far too old and far too sensible to believe in monsters. But your body did not get the memo. In the dark, some ancient part of you stops listening to the rational adult in charge and starts listening to something much, much older. And then you flip on the light, and of course there is nothing. Just the same hallway, the same familiar room. You feel a little silly. A grown adult spooked by an empty house. But here's the thing you should never feel silly about. That fear is not childish. It is not irrational. It is one of the oldest, sharpest, most sophisticated survival systems ever built. And it has been keeping your family line alive for longer than our species has even existed. Think about that. This fear is older than farming, older than language, older than the very idea of a human being. It was already ancient when the first of us ever looked up at the stars. It is not something you learned. It is something you inherited, fully formed, on the day you were born. So why does the dark still scare you? Why, in a world of locked doors and streetlights and total safety, does a switch flipping off still send a jolt of primal terror through a modern human being? The answer reaches back millions of years, into a time when the setting of the sun was the single most dangerous moment of every single day. And there is something deeper going on here than just predators. Because the dark does not only hide danger, it hides everything. When the light dies, you lose your single most important sense, the one you lean on for almost everything. In an instant, the familiar world dissolves into a black unknown, and your brain hates the unknown more than almost anything else. An enemy you can see, you can fight or flee, but an enemy you cannot see could be anywhere, could be anything, could already be close. The dark is terrifying not only because of what is in it, but because of what might be. And the not knowing is its own special kind of dread. There are several layers to this, and each one is stranger than the last. So let us step into the dark, carefully, and see what is really waiting there. Let us go. Start with the truth your body already knows. For almost the entire history of life on two legs, the dark was not cozy or peaceful or a nice time to sleep. The dark was when you died. Nightfall was not the end of the day. It was the beginning of the hunt. As the last light drained from the sky, our ancestors were not winding down for the evening. They were bracing, gathering close, watching the shadows lengthen and the tree line turn to black, knowing that out there things were beginning to wake and to move and to go looking for a meal. Because here's a brutal fact about you. You are a daytime animal. Your eyes are built for sunlight, for color and detail and distance. But the moment the light fades, you go almost blind. You fumble. You squint. You cannot tell a shadow from a threat. And the creatures that hunted our ancestors, they had exactly the opposite. Eyes built for the night that turned the darkness you feared into a world they owned. Picture it from their side. To a night hunter, the setting sun was not frightening in the slightest. It was an invitation. The instant the light failed, the balance of power tipped completely in their favor, and the soft, clumsy, blinded creatures they had watched all day suddenly could not see them coming. Dusk, for them, was the dinner bell. You might ask why we never simply evolved better night vision, like the animals that hunted us. The answer is a trade. Eyes are expensive, and you cannot have everything at once. Our ancestors gambled everything on the day, on sharp, colorful, detailed daytime vision that let us spot ripe food, red faces across a clearing, and throw with deadly precision under the sun. And the price of those incredible daytime eyes was near blindness at night. We did not lose the arms race for the dark. We simply chose not to run it at all and bet on the light instead, which left us with one glaring weakness: a few hours of near helplessness every single night for the entire history of our kind. Think about how terrifying that is. Every night, the world flipped. All day, you could see danger coming, gather, travel, throw a rock with deadly aim. But when the sun went down, all of your best weapons went dark with it, and the things that wanted to eat you were suddenly at their strongest. You were blind and slow and surrounded, and out there in the black, something could see you perfectly. Big cats that hunt at night, packs that circle in the dark, snakes underfoot, things that drop from branches, eyes you never saw coming. For 100,000 generations, the dark was full of these things, and the ancestors who wandered off alone into the night, calm and unafraid, did not live to become anyone's ancestors. The ones who felt that cold spike of terror, who froze, who ran back to the fire, who refused to relax when the light died, those were the ones who survived. And they passed that fear, carefully, down to you. But the fear is not just a memory. It is wired into how your brain works the instant the lights go out. Because when your vision fails, your brain does not simply give up. It does something much stranger and much smarter. It starts to fill in the gaps. With almost no light to work with, your brain takes the tiny scraps it does have, a vague shape, a faint sound, a shift in the air, and it guesses. It builds a picture out of almost nothing. And crucially, it does not guess safe. It guesses dangerous. That coat draped over a chair becomes a figure standing in the corner. That creak of the house becomes a footstep. That shadow becomes a shape that is watching you. Your imagination does not drift toward pleasant things in the dark. It sprints toward the very worst possibility it can build. And that is not your mind betraying you. That is your mind doing exactly the job it was designed to do, back when the stakes of guessing wrong were your life. And this is not a flaw. It is the whole point. Imagine two of our ancestors in the dark. One hears a rustle and thinks, probably just the wind, and relaxes. The other hears the same rustle and thinks, that is a predator, and runs. 999 times out of 1,000. It really was just the wind, and the nervous one looks foolish. But that one time it was not the wind, the calm one dies, and the nervous one lives. Over millions of years, that math is merciless. We are all descended from the nervous ones. Calm in the dark was a luxury our ancestors simply could not afford. The relaxed ones, the brave ones, the ones who shrugged off that cold feeling on the back of the neck were quietly removed from the story. What survived and what became us was the jumpy, twitchy, easily frightened line. You are not descended from the fearless. You are descended from the afraid. A shadow becomes a figure. A creak becomes a footstep. A coat becomes a stranger. A branch becomes a claw. Silence becomes a held breath. Your brain would rather scare you 1,000 times for nothing than miss the one real threat that ends you. Fear, in the dark, is your brain choosing to be wrong in the safest possible direction. It is not lying to you. It is protecting you, using the only tools it has left when the lights go out. And there is one specific fear in the dark that is stranger than all the rest. The feeling of being watched. That prickle on the back of your neck. That certainty that something, somewhere in the black, has its eyes on you. You turn around and nothing is there. But the feeling was so strong, so physical, that it is hard to believe it was nothing. That feeling comes from a real system in your brain. One so important it is tuned to fire on the faintest hint of a gaze. Because for a prey animal, spotting that you have been spotted, catching the eyes of the thing about to pounce, could mean the difference between escaping and dying. So your brain built a hair trigger detector for being watched, one that would rather sound 1,000 false alarms than let a real hunter lock onto you unnoticed. In the dark, with no eyes to confirm or deny, that detector runs wild. It scans the black for a threat it cannot see, and finding no answer either way, it does the safe thing. It assumes yes. So you feel watched, not because something is truly there, but because your brain has decided that feeling watched and being wrong is a mistake you can survive, while feeling safe and being wrong is not. Now watch what your body actually does the instant that fear hits. It is one of the fastest, most dramatic transformations your body is capable of. And it happens before you have even finished having a conscious thought. A tiny, ancient alarm center deep in your brain fires before the thinking part of you even knows what is happening. It does not wait for you to decide if the threat is real. It acts instantly and floods your whole body with a single command. Get ready, right now. Your heart pounds, your breath goes shallow, your pupils blow wide open, your muscles coil, your skin prickles, your hearing sharpens. Your eyes open wider to catch every scrap of light. Your muscles fill with fuel, ready to run or fight in an instant. Your hearing sharpens until you can pick out the tiniest sound. You even freeze, going perfectly still and silent, an ancient trick to avoid being noticed and to listen. In a single heartbeat, the dark turns you from a relaxed modern human back into a hyper-alert animal, primed for a predator that, tonight, almost certainly is not coming. But your body does not know that. Your body is taking no chances. And here is the strange part. You cannot switch this off with logic. You can tell yourself out loud that you are safe, that there is nothing there, that this is completely ridiculous and your heart will keep pounding anyway. Because the part of your brain running the show in that moment is far older than reason, and it does not speak the language of logic. It knows only one rule. In the dark, assume the worst and live. There is also a faster, more violent version of this fear, and you have felt it 100 times. The jump. A sudden sound in the dark, a bang, a crash, a hand landing on your shoulder, and before you can think at all, your whole body convulses. You gasp, you flinch, your arms fly up. This is the startle reflex, one of the oldest and fastest circuits in your entire nervous system, and it is built for exactly one purpose: to protect you from an attack you never saw coming. In the dark, where attacks arrived without warning, that instant, involuntary flinch could be the very thing that saved your life. It is why every horror film ever made leans on the same trick. A quiet moment, and then a sudden blast of noise, hijacking a reflex far older than humanity itself. And this fear is at its absolute strongest in the ones who need it most. Children. Almost every child in every culture, all around the world, is afraid of the dark. They fear the closet, the space under the bed, the monster they are certain is waiting just beyond the light. And parents everywhere say the same thing: there is nothing there. Go back to sleep. But think about why children fear the dark more than anyone. Because for most of our history, a child alone in the dark was the most vulnerable creature in the whole group. Small, weak, slow, unable to fight, unable to flee, the easiest possible target for anything hunting in the night. A child who wandered off, calm and curious, into the dark was a child who did not come back. So evolution turned the fear all the way up in the young, loud and early and impossible to ignore, precisely because they were the ones the dark was most likely to take. It is why a frightened child does not want a lecture about how monsters are not real. They want a light left on, a door left open, a parent close by. Every one of those instincts is the ancient survival kit doing its job. Stay near the grown-ups. Stay near the light. Do not face the dark alone. For a small, soft creature in a dangerous world, that was never really fear. That was wisdom. And those monsters children imagine, the thing under the bed, the shape in the closet, the creature at the window, are not random nonsense. They are your brain running a threat simulator, practicing fear, rehearsing danger, building a lifelong instinct to treat the dark with respect. The monster under the bed was never really there, but the predator it stands in for, the thing that once waited in the dark for small, slow, helpless creatures, absolutely was. The bed, the closet, and the window are just the modern stage. The terror behind them is real, and old, and earned. Every child who has ever pulled the blanket up to their eyes is running the very same ancient program, the one that once whispered correctly that the safest place to be when the dark comes is small, and still, and hidden. And here is perhaps the strangest thing the dark ever did to us. It gave birth to the supernatural. Because for our ancestors, the night was full of sounds, and shapes, and feelings they simply could not explain. Presences they could sense but never see. And the human mind cannot stand a mystery left unanswered. So it filled the dark with stories, with spirits, with demons and ghosts and things that only walk at night. Almost every culture on Earth, entirely separately, populated the same darkness with monsters of the mind. The dark did not just make us afraid, it made us imagine. It may be the true birthplace of every ghost story ever told. And then there is one of the strangest, most terrifying experiences a human being can have, and it happens right at the border of the dark and sleep. You wake in the night and you cannot move. You are awake, your eyes are open, but your body is frozen, completely paralyzed. And worse, you are certain, with absolute animal terror, that there is a presence in the room. Something dark. Something watching. Something close. This is called sleep paralysis, and people across every culture and every century have described the very same thing. A dark figure, a weight on the chest, a shadow at the edge of the bed. It feels supernatural. But it is your own brain, caught between sleeping and waking, with its threat detectors switched fully on while your body is still locked in the paralysis of sleep. Your terrified, half-dreaming brain does what it always does in the dark. It reaches for the oldest explanation it has. Something is here. Something is hunting me. And for thousands of years, that is exactly how people explained it. A demon perched on the chest. A witch, a ghost, an old hag holding you down in the dark. Cultures that never once met invented almost identical creatures to explain the very same terrifying minutes. It was never a demon. It was your own ancient alarm system firing inside a body that could not yet move, painting a monster onto an empty, silent room. And even when you finally do drift off, the fear follows you in. Think about your worst nightmares. So many of them share the very same ancient shape. You are being chased. Something is hunting you. You try to run and your legs will not work. You try to scream and nothing comes out, and a nameless something closes in from behind. This is not random. Many scientists believe nightmares are your brain running practice drills, rehearsing your response to threats in the safety of sleep, keeping your survival instincts sharp. And the threat it rehearses over and over, all around the world, is the oldest one there is: being hunted, in the dark, with nowhere left to run. So how did a blind, terrified, daytime animal ever survive the night at all? The answer is the single most important thing our ancestors ever tamed: fire. Because fire did something miraculous. It pushed back the dark. A fire was not just warmth. It was a wall of light in a world of black. It let our ancestors see again, just a little, in a small golden circle where they were safe. It kept the night-eyed predators back, because almost every animal fears fire, and it gave them something they had never had before: a safe place to stop, to rest, to lower their guard, and to finally sleep. The campfire was the first safe zone humanity ever built, a tiny island of daylight held against the dark. Around that fire, for the first time, a human could truly exhale. The flames became a boundary the night could not cross, a line of light with safety on one side and the unknown on the other. Everything good about being human, the talking, the sharing, the stories, the rest, grew up inside that small, flickering circle, guarded from the dark by nothing but fire. And this is why, even now, a fire feels so deeply, strangely comforting. Why we still love to sit and stare into the flames. Why a candle can calm you, and a campfire can make a group of strangers feel like family. That comfort is ancient. Your body still remembers that light meant safety, that the fire meant you would live to see the morning. It is no accident that a flame still soothes something deep in you that words never could. Long before we understood a single thing about why, fire meant the difference between a safe night and a final one. That relief is written into you. When you relax in front of a fire, you are feeling the very same quiet safety your ancestors felt. 10,000 nights ago, in the one warm circle the dark could never touch. Fire, torches, candles, lanterns, lamps, streetlights, a glowing phone in the dark. Look at the whole story of human progress, and part of it is simply this: an endless, stubborn war against the dark. From the first campfire, to torches, to candles, to gas lamps, to the electric light, to entire cities that now blaze so bright you can see them from space. We have spent our entire existence trying to turn the night into day, because deep down, some part of us has never stopped being afraid of what the dark used to hold. And there is a reason the dark feels most dangerous of all when you are trying to sleep, because sleep is the most defenseless thing you will ever do. For hours, you are unconscious, blind, deaf to reason, completely helpless. For an animal that was hunted in the dark, sleep was a terrifying gamble every single night. So we evolved clever defenses. We slept in groups, never alone, so many pairs of ears could catch a threat. We took turns, some sleeping while others watched. And we learned to sleep lightly, part of the brain always listening, always on guard. It is why a strange sound in the night, a creak that should not be there, can rip you from a deep sleep in an instant, heart already pounding before you are even awake. That is not a malfunction. That is a guard, still standing watch thousands of years after the danger is gone. And that ancient fear is still everywhere in modern life, if you know where to look. It is why horror films almost always happen at night, and why the monster is always just out of sight. It is why we instinctively dim the lights to make a story scary and turn them all on to feel safe again. It is why a child asks for a nightlight, and why an adult, alone in a big dark house, still checks the closet, feeling a little foolish, and does it anyway. We built a world of light specifically to escape this fear, and it still finds us. Turn off every lamp, sit alone in a truly dark room, and within minutes that ancient part of you begins to stir. The ears sharpen, the imagination wakes. The old question rises up from somewhere deep below your modern mind. Is something there? You cannot fully switch it off. Because it was never really about the dark itself. It was about what the dark could hide. And here is a quiet irony to sit with. We have grown so good at banishing the dark that most of us have never truly experienced it. In a lit-up modern city, real, total darkness is almost impossible to find. We have all but erased the very thing that shaped so much of who we are. And yet, take a person from that bright, safe world and set them out under a truly black sky, far from every light, and within minutes the ancient fear comes flooding right back, exactly as strong as it ever was. We can turn the lights on, but we have never found a way to turn the instinct off. So why does the dark still scare you? Not because you are weak or childish or irrational. It scares you because you are the descendant of the ones who were smart enough to be afraid. For millions of years, the dark really was full of things that wanted to kill you. And every single one of your ancestors survived it night after night because some deep part of them refused to relax when the sun went down. That fear you feel in the dark hallway is not a bug. It is a gift handed down from 100,000 grandparents who felt exactly the same jolt of terror and lived because of it. So the next time the lights go out and your heart quickens and some ancient voice whispers that something is there, do not be embarrassed. Just remember what that feeling really is. It is a million years of survival, still standing guard over you, in the dark, keeping watch, just in case. The dark was never empty, not for a very, very long time. And some part of you will always remember that. You were never afraid of nothing. You never were.